up, WWTD folks? I'm back. Ooh, look at that. Say hi, Lola. Lola's with me. She's my co-pilot today. Driving around, checking out some projects on the way back to the office. Got demo footage here. We knocked down a big old piece of shit in Southeast Portland. Real dump this place was. Can't believe people actually lived in it. Had rats the size of cats in the back garage. Just rotten, nasty housing. So for all you guys out there that like to complain about us developers are ruining Portland, well, I would suggest maybe you go do a camp out for a night in the property we just tore down. Might change your mind. But hey, what I want to talk about today, interesting topic. Of course, all my topics are interesting, but this one I think is really interesting. I was thinking to myself, I said, hey self, what should I talk about today? And myself said, well, why don't you talk about the fuck it all day that we had last week? So for any of you guys out there that have been in this business for a while, you've probably had a fuck it all day, right? It's just one of those days that you just wanna Anybody had a day like that where you question everything, you wonder if you've got enough patience, stamina, desire to make it work in this business? Yeah, I'm sure you have. I have. I had one last week. And even at the point that we're at, there are days that just straight up kick me in the balls. And I say, damn, this is just not fun. It's not fun some days. And the point is that you gotta regroup. And here we are a few days later, and I feel much better. But, you know, I literally was sitting around that evening going, this is just not fun. And the day that we had, just so that everybody can understand, as you get into the development building side, you got to deal a lot more with people at the city, which, you know, mostly is a bad thing. You know, there are a few shining beacons down at the city that can help you actually accomplish things, but for the most part, they're just a giant pain in the ass. And the people that work there could care less about improving their systems. They could care less about your holding costs. They could care less about all the problems that you have to deal with because of their inability to do their job or the restrictions that they impose. So, just to kind of frame the day that I had, we've got a big 1 acre parcel. We're doing a 2-lot partition, and we got the partition approved. Well, we designed one of the plans ahead of time because the partitions here in Portland take forever. And when I say forever, I mean I'm talking like a year. They tell you it takes 6 months, but it doesn't take 6 months. It takes a year. And so we tried to set the lot lines on this acre, because we're only building 2 houses, such that we could build 2 very desirable houses. Well, we checked all the guidelines, we checked all the setback restrictions, and we designed the houses based on it. Well, come to find out, once they actually issue the approval for the partition, they set some new setback requirements on us. And this is where it goes into the fuck it all day. Because we had designed a plan that met all of the flag lot restrictions for a city like Oswego. This is what I'm talking about. But they imposed a new setback restriction. And this is where it gets crazy, right? This is where, when you deal with the city sometimes, you start to scratch your head, and you understand why we're never going to solve this shortage in housing crisis that we have. It's never going to get solved. You know, the market may soften, but you just can't build enough units fast enough because of the idiocy that's in place in a lot of our municipalities and the slowness in which they approve things and the restrictions that they put on you. So back to my story. We got the partition approved. It's an acre lot, but it's deep, so it's not an acre wide. It doesn't have an acre of road frontage. It has 1.5 lots wide versus your standard size lot, and it's deep. So we have a flag lot in the back. So we have an access road on the left side, and that left side access road, you pull in, first house, you hang a right off the access road to pull in your first house, and then the access road ends as you cross over the property line that was created through the partition, and you pull into the second lot and the second house driveway. Well, the city requires that we project that road all the way to the end of the property, even though the road doesn't go to the end of the property. And on top of that, we have to project a landscape buffer on both sides of that road. So bottom line is, we have to create setbacks for a building envelope based off of a fictitious road and fictitious landscape buffers on each side that have to be 5 feet on each side. So you have a road that projects plus landscape buffers on each side, and you have to set your setbacks based on a fictitious road and fictitious landscape buffers. Insane, right? Well, the whole idea behind the road is that they want to be able to connect your property to other properties to allow access on that road. Well, here's the catch, right? Every of you guys that have been in real estate for a while, you realize that you have to have an easement in order to cross over somebody's property to access your own. And you can't just be given an easement. The owners of the property that you have to cross over have to give you the easement. The city cannot require you to give easement for access unless it's a landlocked property. The property behind us is not landlocked. Now, you sometimes have to give utility easements and things like that, but generally speaking, a access easement, you cannot just force somebody to give it, especially if it's a private road, right? That's how the city would get sued. They would get sued like you wouldn't believe. So they have a requirement that when we do these types of developments, we have to project a road, and we have to project landscape buffers on each side of this road, and we have to do our setbacks based on that. So the whole idea behind what it is that they make us do would get them sued to high hell and back, or if they actually required that you allow somebody to use your road for whatever reason, for access. But on top of that, we have to create a plan for a big lot that now we get pushed way in. So we basically have to create a bowling alley plan based on a fictitious road and fictitious landscape buffers. Hopefully I gave you that story in a way that you can understand it, but that's what factored into my fuck it all day, because we already had a plan design. We were about a day away from getting our building permit, and then they pulled this on us. So that basically meant that we had to pull this project out of the lineup as far as when we start construction. We had to create a whole new house plan, which I already paid for one house plan to be created. So we have time, money, effort, and also just the giant headache of screwing up our entire construction schedule to start the process of this build. So that was my fuck it all day. So it does happen, even to me. I'm sure you guys can relate to some extent, but it's a real estate roller coaster, man. It's just, it's up, it's down, it's up, it's down. When you're in a business that has such high highs, just remember, you're going to have days that have low lows. And so the best thing you can do, or my advice to you, is understand that you're in the middle of a fuck it all day and just get through it. You'll pop out the other side. A lot of the emotions you're feeling will kind of dwindle a little bit, and you'll be able to kind of look at it with a little better and more reasonable eye the next day, and you'll just be able to deal better the next day. So that's my story. I'm sure you guys have had many of these days. If you haven't, you will. It's part of the business, but we all get there at some point, and just recognize when you're in a fuck it all day and take a deep breath, wait until the next day, and go get them again the next day. So, all right, guys, that's this week's WWTD. As I always say, I may not walk on water, but I do walk on my own job sites. See you next week.